What's going on, everybody? Day 2 here from the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex mandatory mini camp, which means situational ball, Allen. You talk with Mike Tomlin today. Today we're going to start out with the news. We actually did the reverse yesterday. We probably should have done that the other way, but today we will talk about the news first. Cole Holcomb, big update on Cole Holcomb, and then situational football. Mike Tomlin likes what he saw today.
Yeah, a couple updates from Mike Tomlin. Cole Holcomb on track to participate in training camp. I know there had been some rumors or talk that he was, obviously it was a major knee injury with surgery, but it wasn't anything out of the ordinary, and so he's on track to be back. Najee Harris here today, not a full participant. Mike Tomlin said not a big deal. Also pointed out actually that Cam Hayward didn't take any snaps today, and I didn't even notice until he said so. But the situational football, and he said he felt like today went much better in terms of the execution of the scheme and that type of thing than it did on the first day. And you talked to Russell Wilson about that.
I did. We talked to Russell Wilson. He engineered a touchdown drive in the 2-minute drill today. Hit Calvin Austin up the seam for a touchdown. Calvin Austin's having a phenomenal late spring, early summer, man. Continues to impress. Russ said he's just so impressed by Calvin Austin's toughness, his route running. He's always open. He caught another deep ball on top of that today. He's having a really nice spring. I'm interested to see if this can translate into, when they get into pads and into the summer. But Calvin Austin looks like a potential breakout candidate for them right now. And Russell Wilson was very calm. They spread it around. I think he said he threw it to 7 different receivers in that drive. They ended up driving down the field and getting it pretty comfortably. So the 2-minute drill did much better today with Russell Wilson. I talked with Russell Wilson about George Pickens today too. They are going out to San Diego next week to work together. So he was not there with the big meeting in May when Frymouth and Jefferson and Austin were there. Well, those two are going to have work together. And George Pickens also another guy that had a really good day today. Just, won at all 3 levels, had a big touchdown on a deep route. There were a few deep balls today. I think Russ said they connected on 4 of them today, 1 to Van Jefferson as well. So the offense today was lighting it up. I think this was the best day I've seen for the offense.
I think it was the best day I saw for the offense. I thought it was the best day I saw for Russell Wilson. I thought it was the best day I saw for George Pickens.
Yeah.
I thought those guys really started to look like they connected at a level that I have not quite seen yet to this point.
I would agree.
So I thought that was really promising. George also talked today, said he was working in the slot a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's something interesting. Keep an eye out. I do think when you go back and you look at some of the Arthur Smith tape, the idea of getting your big guy against the slot corner is something that he's going to try to do. And so I think we have seen some of that with George in the past. I'm not sure it's going to be an every down thing, but I think it's another thing to keep in mind that they're going to try to do from time to time.
Yeah, I agree. And a sleeper that I want to point out is Des Fitzpatrick. He had a nice day today. I still think he is a sleeper mainly because of his special teams ability. I think he has special teams ability that a lot of the receivers don't. So, we're talking that 6th, 5th spot, and they're trying to prioritize special teams. I think he's a guy that can fit in there, but he actually had a really nice day just as a receiver. Made a few really tough catches today. Beat Joey Porter Jr. on one as well. So he's looking really solid as well. Another note that I wanted to kind of bring up, I talked today to Aaron Curry, the inside linebackers coach. You talked about Cole Holcomb. He's not worried about the fact that they have 4 legitimate inside linebackers. He loves that. In fact,
worried?
He's not.
I've never heard a position coach be worried about having 4 good players.
The question you specifically asked was, "Are you worried it's going to eat too much into Landon Roberts' times and Cole Holcomb's time?" Maybe not the wording I would have used in the question, but he's not worried at all. He says that each of those guys has their own specific superpower. Basically, Queen's the 3-down green dot guy. Peyton Wilson's this coverage versatile guy. Landon Roberts is the hammer, and then Cole Holcomb's the steady do-it-all kind of, guy that does a little bit of everything. And so everyone has their superpower, and they're going to find ways to use them. I thought it was real interesting that Aaron Curry specifically mentioned how, Peyton Wilson hasn't been a traditional stack linebacker. He's been a guy that's blitzed. He's been a guy that's done a little bit of everything. Now they're going to find, a perfect spot for him. It seems like it's going to be the dime linebacker role. Terrell Austin spoke today too about that and said, that he has a very good chance to be the starting dime linebacker right out of the day, which I find to be very interesting and that's a good development for him. It shows that his retention of the playbook is going well there. I also talked with Terrell Austin, and I think the big takeaway I had from what Terrell Austin said, and then Grady Brown too, I talked with Grady Brown, was getting Minkah back to being Minkah. I thought this was a big takeaway from today. Buried in all the stuff we talked about earlier, but Minkah Fitzpatrick is a guy that played a lot in the box and a lot in the slot. I think it was, near 30% last year, which is a lot because previously, it's only about 7, 8, 9, 10%. So that's a significant increase. They want him to be that free safety, that roaming rubber. So who's going to fill in those voids? Guys like Deshaun Elliott. Patrick Queen's going to take some of that role. I'm sure, even whoever wins the slot job with us, Josiah Scott, Beanie Bishop. By the way, both Terrell Austin and Grady Brown, so impressed with Beanie Bishop for an undrafted free agent. Grady Brown said he doesn't look like an undrafted
He doesn't.
free agent.
I agree with Grady Brown.
So I think that is speaking very high praise to Beanie Bishop. But it seems like a big part of what they want to do is get Minka back to being Minka.
Last thing I want to clean up on the defense here. Noah Landon Roberts today, maybe he got tweaked something yesterday. It didn't seem like it was a big deal, but Mark Robinson was out there calling plays for the defense, and he sniffed out a shovel pass and kind of almost got to the ball, ended up kind of going like full speed into Pat Freiermuth. They kind of playfully exchanged some words, but don't forget about him in that mix. You talked about special teams. I think linebacker body types are going to be really important for this kickoff. I think Mark Robinson still has a chance to make an impact, to make the team. I could see them keeping 5 at linebacker. Last thing I want to mention is Keanu Benton. I talked to him today, talked to Carl Dunbar as well, but he said he's lost a little bit of weight. He feels more athletic. He wants to get more sacks this year, but the other thing that's happening is he's getting his hands up on the ball. He jumped up to block a pass today, and I was like, oh my gosh, was that 95? Look how high he was. And I was standing next to Bo Marchante. I was like, does he look skinnier to you? And then I went and asked him. He's like, yeah, he slimmed down a little bit. And I think that whole defensive line. But
yeah, I talked to Brad Fajoka about that. He said he alone brought 6. So much so that the quarterbacks have started talking to the D linemen to stop getting their hands up.
Yeah.
In this setting, I think they have a little bit more liberty to do that, but they don't have to worry about Justin Fields taking off.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to get held when you're not wearing pads. Yeah. Also,
that's true. That's true.
That's
one last thing I want to mention. When talking to Grady Brown and Terrell Austin, these guys very, very complimentary of Dante Jackson, and I thought this was interesting.
Yeah,
one of the Grady Brown
player.
Quotes, how. I asked him because of how different Joey and Dante are and how they play and their size, are you going to have a one-size-fits-all, or are there going to be more half-field coverages? He said probably yes. Why? Because they want Joey up on the number 1 receiver no matter what the body type is. It doesn't matter if that's Jamar Chase, DK Metcalf, or Amari Cooper. That's 3 very different types of receivers. They want him covering all of them. And more importantly, Dante Jackson's not a press corner. He's an off-man speed guy first. So there's going to be, different kind of variations of what they do on each side of the field, which I thought was kind of an interesting note. So they're not going to, fit a square peg into a round hole there with Dante Jackson. It feels like they're going to.
Sounds like a lot of quarter, half.
It does to me. Yeah, I agree with that. But it seems like Joey Porter Jr. is going to fall around, number 1 guys, and Dante Jackson's going to be asked to do kind of what he needs to do there. We'll be back tomorrow for one more mandatory minicamp practice on Thursday. Folks, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on the notification bell. After the drive coming shortly after this. Make sure to read the stuff at SteelersNow.com. For Nick Faribault and Alan Saunders, thanks for watching.